My sister has a koi fish birthmark on her face. After she gave him her blessing, my dad won $5 million. My mom got the perfect body she always wanted. But I was the only one who didn't ask for anything. Because I knew the mark on my sister's face was a black koi. And whatever it gives, it takes back double. The morning it all started, relatives from all over, people I'd never even seen before, had swarmed our house, all of them crowding around my sister, Ava. "Oh Ava honey, it's your auntie. Don't you remember? I used to hold you when you were a baby. Get out of the way. I'm the one who bought Ava candy when she was little. And me, I'm your uncle's wife." I stared blankly at this sea of unfamiliar faces, then at my sister, who sat calmly in the middle of it all. I was so confused. Ever since my sister woke up from her coma, she'd stopped hiding the black birthmark on her face. She even told us it was the symbol of her good luck. My dad had just been fired and was simmering with anger. He grabbed Ava by her braids and started yelling, "You useless girl. You with your broke-ass life, a good luck charm? Don't make me laugh. I'll beat the hell out of you for lying to your own father." My sister just bit her lip and said nothing. We all knew he wouldn't stop until he'd gotten it all out of his system. After he was done, though a little seed of greed had been planted, my sister quietly told him a string of numbers. The next day, when the lottery numbers were announced, my dad just stared at the big screen, speechless for a long time. He had lost his mind. He'd won $5 million. More money than he could ever earn in a lifetime. The way he stared at my sister, it was like he wanted to eat her alive. But it was my mom who couldn't wait. She's 40 this year, and weighs nearly 400 pounds. She always tries to pass it off as a sign of wealth, something that brings her husband good fortune, but people always laugh at her. She shoved me aside, her voice pleading. "Ava, please, I'm begging you. This is the only thing your mother wants." My sister narrowed her eyes and smiled. "All right." Then my mom followed my sister into the back room. When they returned, my mom was holding a bowl of some unknown liquid. It was a dark, murky red, almost like blood. After she drank it all, my mom's enormous body deflated like a punctured balloon, shrinking by 3/4 in an instant. When we looked again, the 400-pound woman who got winded just walking a few steps had transformed into a stunning, 100-pound beauty. Everyone was stunned by the change, but I was the only one who saw the birthmark on my sister's face turn a shade darker. From then on, my dad was rich. He took his lottery winnings and invested them, and every investment he made at least doubled. He bought a car, a house, and moved the whole family into a villa. My mom got slimmer and slimmer, turning heads on the street with her incredible figure. My younger brother, who used to call my sister an ugly freak, completely changed his tune. Now it was all sis this and sis that, sweet as can be. My sister whispered something in his ear, and the next day he scored the highest in the entire school on his exams. He even ended up getting a guaranteed scholarship to the best high school in the city. After that, our whole family treated my sister like a princess. We were the picture-perfect, loving family you see on TV. Except she wouldn't talk to me anymore. My sister and I are twins. We look exactly alike. The only difference is the birthmark on her face. It's shaped like a koi fish, and it's not ugly at all. But in our parents' eyes, a girl without a pretty face was a girl who couldn't get married. And to them, a daughter who couldn't get married was useless. From the time we started elementary school, my mom made my sister and me do all the housework, so she could focus on our younger brother, who was only a year younger than us. My mom never had a kind word for my sister, always calling her a waste of money or an ugly freak. The first word my brother learned wasn't daddy or mommy, but ugly freak. My sister would just smile faintly and say nothing. Only sometimes, when she couldn't hold it in anymore, would she cry silently in my arms in the middle of the night. She was even afraid to make a sound when she cried. All I could do back then was rub her back and tell her that things would be better when we grew up. Then we could go to a hospital and have the birthmark removed. We could leave this family that never felt like ours and go do whatever we wanted. But we never made it to that day. My sister was accused of cheating on an exam, but everyone knew she was the most hard-working student, almost scarily so. Ever since she started high school, she was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. I didn't believe for a second she would cheat. Our grades were our only ticket out of this family. The boy who accused her, Kevin, insisted she had copied his paper. Teacher, I'm reporting Ava-chan for copying my test. How else could her answers be exactly the same as mine? Kevin had always been a model student, so people were inclined to believe him. Whispers started rippling through the classroom as our classmates began to doubt her. Our homeroom teacher tried to say something, but just then, my dad showed up. He grabbed my sister and started hitting her, screaming, "You bitch. You've embarrassed the hell out of me. You're worthless. Why don't you just go die?" Half the school came out to watch the spectacle. By the time I ran down from the science building, my sister was just standing there, her eyes lifeless and empty, looking so fragile she might break. My dad went to hit her again, but I threw myself in front of her, crying and begging him to stop. I was so focused on him that I didn't notice my sister had jumped into the campus's artificial lake behind me. After she woke up in the hospital, my sister was a completely different person. She used to always keep her head down, trying to hide the birthmark on her face. Walking through a crowd, her doe-like eyes would be filled with fear. The only time they'd light up was when she saw me. But that all changed. Now she always wore a cold, distant smile. Whatever our parents wanted, she would grant their wishes. She looked exactly the same, but her eyes, which once held a familiar light, now glinted with a strange, alluring gleam. And she completely ignored me. We used to share a bed, huddled together for warmth. Now I slept alone. She would laugh and joke with our brother, but pretend not to hear me when I called her name. I watched the relatives swarm around her, grabbed a slice of toast, and got ready to leave. Yeah. I turned. My sister was sitting on the sofa. "Be safe on your way." I stared at her. It was the first thing she'd said to me in so long. I nodded excitedly. At school, my new deskmate, Leo, started shaking his tortoise shell again. I'd called it a tortoise shell before, and he got all bent out of shape, insisting it was a divine artifact his grandpa had left him for telling fortunes. Our homeroom teacher saw him shaking it through the window. After the teacher confiscated his shell, he slumped onto his desk, completely dejected. I couldn't help but tease him. "Master Leo, how come you didn't foresee this little disaster?" Leo's face turned beet red. He stammered for a moment before retorting, "You don't get it. A fortune teller can't read his own future." He turned his back to me in a huff. When he finally turned back around, he asked for my birth chart information. "Your chart, this is not good." I just assumed he was kidding and didn't pay it any mind. But he got more and more serious. "From what I can see, your fate is to be poor." I rolled my eyes at him as he meticulously calculated on his fingers. The student in front of me overheard and laughed. "Master Leo, look at your deskmate. Her dad is the most famous investment guru in our city. Poor? She's rolling in it, okay?" I just kept rolling my eyes at Leo. But Leo got defensive, forgetting to hide his missing front tooth as he shouted, "No way. I'm sure my calculation is right. Unless some kind of spirit changed your fate, but who knows if it was for better or for worse. And your fate is a dangerous one. If you'd been born just 1 hour earlier, you wouldn't have even made it to adulthood." My breath caught in my throat. My sister and I are twins. She was born exactly 1 hour before me. If what Leo said was true, my sister's heart had indeed stopped for a moment after she was pulled from the lake a few days ago. Was this the prophecy coming true? I was sure I'd heard the doctor say her heart had stopped, and that her waking up was a miracle. The doctors wanted her to stay for observation, but my sister refused, insisting she was fine. And my parents didn't want to spend any more money. If she hadn't already been rushed to the hospital when it happened, my dad wouldn't have even been willing to pay the medical bills. The more I thought about it, the more scared I got. I remembered accidentally touching my sister's hand a few days ago. It was ice cold. When I looked up at her in surprise, she just squinted at me and smiled, as if she was waiting for my reaction. And then there was all her strange behavior recently. Under the blazing summer sun, I felt a cold sweat break out on my back. If my sister was already dead, then who was this person now? In the dead of night, I tiptoed upstairs, holding a small mirror I'd borrowed from Leo. Ever since my sister revealed her good luck powers, my dad followed her every word. She was the one who chose this new house. The rest of us slept on the second floor, but she slept alone on the fourth, and she forbade any of us from going up there. I walked barefoot up the stairs. The redwood staircase, which was usually off limits, was covered in dust. My heart skipped a beat. Why were mine the only footprints here? There was no time to think. I forced myself to keep going. Usually, when there was danger, my sister would be the one to walk ahead of me. But now I had to find out if she was safe. I'd rather she was just ignoring me than imagine she was already gone. Fighting back tears, I walked down the long hallway to the very end. There was only one room. The door was carved with 2 koi fish, one black and one red. The entire 4th floor was eerily silent. It was the middle of summer, but even without the AC on, it was bone-chillingly cold. The sound of dripping water, drip, 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 sent shivers down my spine. I tried a trick my sister had taught me, using my student ID card to jimmy the lock, but the door was already unlocked. I quietly pushed the door open and went inside. My sister was sitting perfectly still by the window, completely unaware of my presence. I breathed a sigh of relief and was about to go to her when I saw 2 eyeballs pop out of her face. Plop, plop. They rolled right to my feet. I stumbled backward in terror as the thing that looked like my sister, its eye sockets now empty, started cackling. You can't escape. The 2 red and white eyeballs rolled after me. My back hit the window, my heart hammering in my chest. The creature that wore my sister's face walked towards me, step by step, its laughter growing more and more grotesque. I screamed for my sister, crying uncontrollably. In the haze of my fear, I thought I heard someone else's footsteps. Just as I was about to open my eyes, a hand slammed down on my shoulder, and I went tumbling down toward the ground below. Splash. I landed in the pool downstairs. I remember this was another thing my sister had them build. It was much, much deeper than a normal pool. Even in broad daylight, it looked almost bottomless. The water was freezing. I struggled for a while but couldn't surface. In the last moment before I lost consciousness, I saw my sister. It was my sister, the one who always smiled so gently at me. Ava. I jolted awake. The sun was shining on my face so bright I had to shield my eyes. I ran into the living room and found everyone acting as if nothing had happened. My mom was admiring her reflection in the mirror. My dad was gone, probably out having fun with one of his mistresses. My brother, Jason, however, looked a little on edge, fidgeting restlessly. My sister was sitting at the table, taking small, delicate sips of porridge. She looked less like a person and more like some small animal. Ava. Last night you... Before I could finish, my sister cut me off. I was out last night. What's wrong? Looking into her wide, innocent eyes, I was at a loss for words. When I had woken up, I realized my clothes were completely dry. There weren't even any footprints on the stairs. All I could do was watch as my sister sweetly greeted my mom and brother, then walked right past me and went upstairs. Jason scoffed and shoved me as he walked out the door. I sat on the floor for a long time, then slowly opened my hand. Inside was a large eyeball. That evening at our birthday party, the early arrivals crowded around my sister, showering her with compliments. Ava is just getting more and more beautiful. Some lucky guy is going to snatch her up one day. The one who said that was our great aunt, the same one who used to call Ava an ugly freak every day. I always said Ava would be successful. Just look at her. So outstanding. That was our great uncle, the one who used to say girls were useless. They all fawned over my sister, completely forgetting that today was my 18th birthday too. Finally, my dad arrived, with his latest side piece in his arms. My mom's eyes were red with fury, but my uncle stopped her, saying they had more important things to deal with. I knew what the important thing was, getting my sister to grant them a blessing. A fortune teller had told them, the good luck a koi person brings on their 18th birthday is permanent. My brother was the first one up. Jason dropped to his knees. Ava, you're the best sister ever. You'll definitely help me become valedictorian, right? My sister just smiled, looking down at Jason without a word, but that was enough to make him and my mom ecstatic. Seeing this, the others went into a frenzy, pushing and shoving to get closer. I want to be rich. I want to be the richest man in the world. I'm your uncle. I took a deep breath and hurled my glass at the champagne tower. Crash. The massive tower of glasses smashed to the floor with a sound like thunder. I want a blessing too, I shouted, my face a tight mask. Yes. Ella is her twin sister, let her go first. It was my mom who said that. After losing all the weight, she was no match for the others and had been shoved aside by 4 of my 400-pound uncles. I clenched my fists and walked toward my sister as the crowd parted to make way for me. My mom whispered in my ear as I walked. Quick, wish for your dad to only have me. If he gets stolen away, you'll see how you cry then. I didn't answer her. I'd already decided on my wish long ago. I looked up at my sister. She still had that detached, emotionless smile. Her eyes, as she looked down at me, held no trace of concern, only a cold indifference. I held back my tears and said, word by word, my wishes. For Ava-chan to be healthy and safe. The spilled champagne pooled around my feet, swallowing my tears as they fell. The room erupted in laughter. They were laughing at my pointless wish, at how I'd wasted my one big chance trying to suck up to her. My mom was so angry she looked like she was about to hit me. But my sister, who had been smiling all this time, suddenly wasn't smiling anymore. A terrifying coldness radiated from her, and the air in the room seemed to freeze. Fine. The entire hall fell silent, everyone staring at Ava, who had just spoken for the first time. Ava scanned the crowd, her voice eerily calm. All of your wishes will come, true one by one. A cold wind, a wind that had no place in summer, blew in through the window. I stood frozen in place, an icy chill running from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. My phone buzzed with a message from Leo. I had sent him a picture of the red and white eyeball first thing in the morning. Ella, that eyeball belongs to a black koi. Anyone who makes a wish to a black koi will have to pay it back double. They're vengeful creatures. Don't make a wish, whatever you do. Don't make a wish. It was too late. The people around me were closing in on her in a crazed frenzy. Only 2 people stood on the outskirts. Me and a boy. It was Kevin. Kevin, the gentle, polite, top student at school, now looked more deranged than anyone in the room. But it didn't seem like he wanted wealth or a bright future. He was just staring at the radiant Ava in the center of the crowd. Kevin's handsome face twisted into a grotesque mask. He trembled as he muttered, "This shouldn't be happening. Ava-chan, you don't deserve this. You rejected me. You should be trampled into the dirt. Why, Ava-chan? How dare you reject me?" Hearing this, I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. I walked up and slapped him across the face. I remembered the night before my sister was framed. I had seen that she was upset. I'd asked her what was wrong. She just slowly shook her head, refusing to tell me. Now I knew. Kevin's eyes were dark and grim as he stared at me, his expression blank. "You're a liar. Why did you frame my sister?" Kevin laughed. "Because the bitch dared to reject me. That face of hers, it makes me want to puke. If it wasn't for me throwing a little pity her way, who would ever like her?" With that, Kevin looked back at my sister in the crowd. I just never thought that someone who was so miserable could be so confident now. But still, I prefer the Ava-chan who was groveling at my feet. Huh. Her pain, it looked so good. The more the boy laughed, the more monstrous his face became. I was filled with rage. Just because of your so-called crush, my sister had to pay with her life. Why would you start a rumor about someone just because you like them? I lunged forward to hit him again, but Kevin shoved me to the ground. "That's enough, Ella. Don't make me hit a woman." Suddenly, the crowd went quiet. My sister, Ava, was walking gracefully toward us. Kevin stared at her, mesmerized. The small, embroidered fan in my sister's hand covered her red lips as she once again narrowed her eyes and smiled. "Oh right. I almost forgot about you." With that one look and one smile, Kevin was completely bewitched. He stood frozen as my sister leaned in and whispered something in his ear. This time, I finally heard it. "You will get what you wish for." After hearing her words, Kevin went completely wild. He burst out of the hotel ballroom, laughing maniacally. My sister helped me up but said nothing. She went back to giving her blessings to the rest of our relatives. It was a lively birthday party. My dad got good news about his latest investment. My mom, who had gained a little weight recently, was suddenly so stunningly slim again that my dad couldn't take his eyes off her. That is, until his new girlfriend wished for the face of a first love and stole his attention right back. A night of utter debauchery. I watched the crazed looks on these familiar yet strange faces, a deep chill settling in my heart. The Ava standing there now, how could she possibly be my sister? The clock struck midnight, and everything changed. My mom was the first to notice something was wrong. That night, she went from 100 pounds to 80. She was secretly pleased at first, planning to use a frail and sickly look to win back my dad's affection. But she never imagined that the next day, she would weigh only 70 pounds. At over 5'5", with a large frame, she was nothing but a skeleton. Skin and bones. My mom frantically tried to find my sister, but she was nowhere to be found. She saw every doctor she could, but no one had a solution. Panic set in. She started forcing herself to eat anything that would make her gain weight: greasy, disgusting pork knuckles, fatty cuts of beef. She guzzled down bottle after bottle of hormones. She couldn't stop, not even for a second. She even had to eat in her sleep. My mom became hideous, a walking skeleton in constant danger of dying. She lost her mind. My dad, after my mom bit him, ran out of the house, cursing a blue streak. The same vile words he once hurled at my sister were now directed at another woman. To soothe his wounded ego, my dad found a new, young, beautiful starlet. But just as he was about to use his old trick of buying her a luxury apartment, he fainted. He was fine by the time he got to the hospital. But when the starlet helped him up to go buy a designer bag, he was once again racked with such intense pain that he passed out. The starlet stormed off in a huff. She even remarked that my dad's acting was better than hers, and that he should just debut on the spot. After that incident, my dad discovered that any time he spent money, his entire body would erupt in pain. A pain that went down to his bones. A pain that pierced his heart. I just wonder if it was even 1/10,000th of the pain my sister felt when he drove her to jump into that lake. My dad could only watch as the balance in his bank account grew day by day, but he didn't dare spend a single cent. He ended up living in the ICU. A true-to-life Scrooge. My brother, Jason, was selfish and cold to the core. He cared more about his academic competitions than his own parents. The 100th time my mom finally got through to him on the phone. "Mom, stop calling me. So what if you're losing weight fast? Lots of women would kill for that. What are you afraid of? Your son is busy preparing for his exams. If I do well, I can go study abroad." And with that, Jason hung up on our mother. I brought her a cup of hot tea, and she shoved me, sending me sprawling to the floor. I knew she was just taking her anger out on me. She now had to eat every single moment of the day, or her weight would drop below 99 pounds. And if that happened, she was a goner. She screamed in rage, but her mouth was so full of food I couldn't understand what she was saying. Her cloudy tears dripped onto the filthy floor. In our huge villa, there were no maids to clean anymore. After all the family's money had come from a wish. And what was given had to be paid back, double. A piece of shattered porcelain cut my hand. I walked over to the pool. My sister was happily humming a little tune as she fed the koi. It was a beautiful song I'd never heard before. It sounded like an old folk tune from a bygone era. Ava would never know a song like that. I put my cut hand into the water, and a small, thin little koi gently kissed the wound. I spoke. "Is this what you wanted?" A look of pure joy spread across my sister's bright, beautiful face. "Ha ha ha ha, of course not. This is all just the beginning. Ella, you have something of mine, don't you?" I stared at her, dumbfounded. Seeing that I didn't respond, my sister turned and walked away. In my other hand, the eyeball was starting to turn a dark, crimson black. Just looking at it felt like it was trying to suck out my soul. My mom finally snapped completely. The family was already out of money, but Jason had told her that if he won his next competition, he'd get prize money. So my mom snuck some money from my dad and gave it to him. Now, Jason had fainted the moment he walked into the exam hall, and was still unconscious. Even when the teachers gave him a second chance, he fainted again. The teacher who had seen him as a promising candidate came to our house, took one look at the state of it, and could only sigh. "The boy is probably under too much stress. You parents need to help him relax a little." As he walked out of the villa's main gate, he shivered. Rich people are really something else, running the AC in the fall. Jason didn't believe in fate. He went back to school again and was carried home again. All the while, my sister sat on the 4th-floor windowsill, laughing so hard she looked like she might fall. I got a text from my old desk mate. After Kevin returned to school, he always had a crazed look on his face and would constantly mutter about a girl being by his side. He would have sudden fits in math class, jumping up and screaming, "Ava, I won't let you leave me. I was wrong. I shouldn't have framed you for cheating. But I love you." After shouting all this, Kevin ran out and jumped into the campus lake right in front of everyone. They'd pull him out, and he'd jump right back in. Even when they restrained him, he kept screaming frantically, "I'm about to jump, Ava. Don't worry, I'll definitely jump. I want to be with you." In the end, after 2 students had jumped into the lake in short succession, the school had it filled in overnight. The next morning, as I walked through the school gates, I saw Kevin, still in his hospital gown, his face deathly pale, repeatedly slamming his head against the ground where the lake used to be. He didn't stop until his head was a bloody mess. Leo, who was beside me, said, "Did he get possessed or something? That's so tragic." I gave him a cold look and turned away. He deserves it. Jason was still stuck in a cycle of preparing for exams and fainting. Finally, my mom, heartbroken for her son, grabbed a knife and forced my sister to tell her how to break the curse. She was chewing and screaming at the same time. Jason lay unconscious next to her like a dead dog. My sister suddenly burst out laughing. Spurred on by her laughter, my mom swung the knife straight down. I saw my sister stand there, motionless, and without thinking, I reached out my arm to block the blow. I saw it with my own eyes, the shock, regret, and fear in my sister's cold gaze. Bright red blood poured from my left arm. My sister finally dropped the act. She grabbed my mom by the neck with one hand and lifted her into the air. With a cold snort, she threw my mom onto Jason. They both grunted and passed out. It was just the 2 of us left awake. This body is still too weak. You've probably figured it out by now, haven't you, Ella? Let me introduce myself properly. I am Z, the being you humans call a black koi. A demon, you see. Z told me that she had made a deal with my sister just before she died. She would take over this body and fulfill my sister's last wish. I didn't say anything. My phone rang. It was the hospital. Something had happened to my dad. My dad, in his quest to save money, had even given up his hospital room. He thought if he slept under a bridge and collected garbage for a living, he could escape the pain. But he never expected his one true love, his mistress, to leave him. She also conned him out of all his money and ran off with his other side piece. Who knew they were a couple? The newest girlfriend, seeing her chance, simply gritted her teeth and stole the last blanket my dad had under the bridge. She even cursed him for being heartless, for not even sharing a bit of the money he was scammed out of. Then she ran off. When my dad got back to the hospital, his body was covered in gold coin-shaped sores. The doctor said they had already spread to his internal organs. My dad was dying. As his daughter, I watched him on his deathbed, this man who had killed my sister. He stared at me, clinging to his last breath, and with a sudden burst of strength he grabbed my hand. "You think your sister was good to you? That demon, it already gave you a blessing. Ha 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 ha, you're going to die too. You're all going to die with me." My dad laughed a grotesque laugh. As the laughter stopped, so did his life. The funny thing is, he couldn't even afford an urn for his ashes. At the funeral, I remembered what my sister had said to me, "Be safe on your way," and I couldn't help but laugh. Of course, I was going to die too. Staring at the endless stream of traffic, I closed my eyes, ready to die, ready to go see Ava. But the death I expected never came. Z grabbed my arm. Her hands were still so cold. I greedily buried my face in her chest. Even though I knew it wasn't my sister, I frantically tried to absorb the last traces of my sister's scent from her. Z, in my sister's body, gently patted my back. "Didn't I tell you? Your wish will come true." I looked up, confused. "What wish?" Z smiled, and the koi birthmark on her face seemed to swim. "Didn't you wish for Ava-chan to be healthy and safe?" It turns out, nobody knew that the first wish made on a black koi's 18th birthday comes with no price. In fact, it's even more powerful than a wish from a real koi. I couldn't really hear the rest of what she said. Her words just kept replaying in my ears. Ava-chan to be healthy and safe. I ran all the way home. My mom had been sent to a nursing home. Jason had disappeared. All that was left was that huge, ominous pool. I scraped both my knees as I fell, ignoring the pain. I just wanted to find my sister. In the green water of the pool, a tiny, thin, one-eyed black koi was hiding in a corner. I called out her name. Ava. After a moment's hesitation, she finally sank to the bottom. My sister's birthmark wasn't from birth. It was called a birthmark because a wise master once said it was a fate my sister had chosen, something destined by the heavens. And my sister's choice was to take my place. I am the real Ava. When we were little, my sisters and my favorite game was to switch identities. We once pretended to be each other and asked the master who was Ava and who was Ella. The master just smiled and said, Ella is Ava, and Ava is also Ella. Now I understood everything. Leo's fortune was actually about me. I was the real older sister. I was the one who wasn't supposed to live to be 18. My sister, long before I knew anything, had made a deal with Zee. She took my place and walked toward a dead end. From then on, she became the older sister, and I became the protected younger sister. The black koi birthmark appeared on her face, and she took on all the suffering that was meant for me. I jumped into the pool, sending up a huge splash. In the icy water, I screamed for my sister, screamed for Ava, screamed for Ella. I don't want to be the younger sister. I'm the one who should have died, the one who should have been called an ugly freak. I cried until my vision blurred. Right before I blacked out, I finally touched the tiny, one-eyed black koi. She was desperately trying to push me toward the surface, but it was no use. I held her tight. Zee saved me. After learning the truth, she became the person I hated most. I kept my mouth shut and refused to take the medicine. Zee wasn't angry though. Instead, she laughed. If you don't drink it, your sister will blame me later, and I'm not taking the fall for that. My eyes shot open. Seeing her smug smile, I threw off the covers and ran to the living room. The once filthy, neglected room was now warm and clean, just like it used to be. A person so familiar it hurt was there making soup. I ran to her, crying, and threw my arms around her. It was the familiar scent. It was my sister. And also my younger sister. I sobbed stubbornly. Ava. Because maybe, just maybe, if I said that name, the person who would be healthy and safe would be the girl in front of me. The one who looked just like me. I thought about all those days she had spent soaking in that pool she was so afraid of, and I was overwhelmed with grief. My sister gently patted my back, her voice soft but strong. My Ella is the best. Why don't you wash your face and take your medicine, okay? The three of us sat at the table, and it was the most awkward scene imaginable. The weirdness peaked when Ava would give me a gentle smile, her eyes full of stars, while Zee would give a wicked grin and nibble on shredded, dry bread. Aren't you a spirit? Don't you have your own body? Why do you have to use my sister's? Zee wasn't fazed by my rapid-fire questions. She just pretended to hug my sister. Because I want to. Because I like it. You can't do anything about it. I almost lost my temper. It was only when my sister told me that Zee had used up all her spiritual energy, and even gotten hurt, just to restore her body that I calmed down and resigned myself to serving her. While I was still processing everything, the front door was kicked open. Jason walked in with a person completely covered in black, with only their eyes showing. I forgot to tell my two sisters that it was Jason who had put the eyeball in my hand in the first place, telling me to use it to hurt Zee. But I despised him more than any so-called demon. I never thought he'd find a helper right when Zee was at her weakest. The person in black quickly performed a spell, and a bolt of golden light shot toward Zee. I was about to try and help, my heart nearly stopping with fear. But then I saw the frown on Zee's face relax. A wave of blue light rippled behind her, and the koi spirit looked more comfortable than ever. Jason, his face dark, demanded of his helper. Didn't you say you could catch demons? Why does she look even stronger now? The masked person chuckled. Beats me. My grandpa said this artifact gives power based on whether a spirit is good or evil. Maybe the evil spirit you're talking about never did anything bad. Maybe she spent her whole life doing good deeds. Jason was about to jump out of his skin with anger, pointing at himself and asking how this could possibly be called a good deed. The person in black shrugged. Punishing bad people counts as a good deed, you know? I recognized the familiar voice and pulled down his mask. When I saw the mouth with only one front tooth standing guard, I knew. It was Leo. So this is what you call your weekend stall? Leo sheepishly confessed to his usual side hustle. Jason just stared at us, dumbfounded by our familiarity. Z let out a few cold laughs and snapped her fingers again, making him fall into a deep sleep. He wants to be a top scholar, right? Let him live out his scholarly dreams, then. After recalculating my and my sister's birth charts one more time, Leo went home, muttering how strange, to go do his homework. Another night passed. I opened my eyes to see my sister sleeping on the pillow next to me, and on the other side was Z. She was sleeping so comfortably that she had kicked her leg right onto my stomach. A new day had begun. Good and evil get what they deserve, and in the end, Ava and Ella were saved. There's just one problem. This koi spirit eats a lot. Someone please come and take her away. I seriously can't afford to keep her.